In this next lesson, we'll be working with pivot tables and how to take data and put it into a table that's a little bit easier to read or summarizes things for you. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab our entire table. Now what you can do is you can either grab the actual data, you can click and grab the columns, or if there's nothing else in the sheet, you can just click the upper left hand corner and it'll grab the whole sheet. What we're going to do here is we're going to go to insert, because again we're putting something that's foreign to the spreadsheet into the spreadsheet, so that's the insert tab. And we're going to click on pivot table right here. Now for anyone that hasn't used pivot tables, what pivot tables do is they allow us to pivot, as from the name, the data into different ways easily so that we can summarize it. So for example, if we want to know counts by name, this is one way that we can actually do that. So you see here, it's making sure you selected the table range. You see it selected sheet 1, which is a sheet we're on from this little text right down here in the left-hand corner. Column A through F, and you see it froze it for us because it doesn't want this data to move. Now it's asking if we wanted a new worksheet or an existing worksheet. It's easier to do new worksheet. Existing worksheet, you can actually select a location, for example, right next to it. We'll do that for right now. So existing worksheet, we'll say, hey, throw that in K5. Now you see what it does is it brings up this chart. Now here on top, that's the name of the pivot table. If you don't set the name, it just increments a number and calls it pivot table 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then here you see 4 boxes. 5 boxes actually. The box on top has all of the variables in our data set, but these 4 boxes are where you can put things. So let's say we want the name of the person in columns. So you see here Bob, Kenny, Michelle. Let's say we want the day right there. And let's say we want to bring the hours of sleep in. Now right now it's counting. That's not necessarily what we want to do. Maybe what we'll have them do is sum. So the 4th box is a report filter. Those are things we might be curious about looking at specifically later. So let's throw weekend and children up there, because that's something that we might be interested in looking at. Now you see here, you have ultimately this data set to our left, summarized in a little bit of a different form. So you see based on the day of the week, you see Bob, Kenny, and Michelle and their hours, and then the sum on those days, as well as overall and by person. So very similar to some of the sum ifs we had done a little bit earlier. Now, if you want to do things like only look at people with children, you can click that. Then everyone goes away except Kenny, because as you see here, Kenny is the only one that reproduced. We're going to click all here. On the weekend, you can click just the ones. Let's see how people sleep on the weekends. And it looks like Michelle sleeps a little bit one night, more the next. Kenny sleeps not nearly 8 hours either night, and Bob looks pretty regular. So again, we're going to go to all here. So again, if we want to look at, let's say, the average, you can move this to average. Down here now, you notice nothing changed in the box except the totals. This is because there's only one number here, so the average is the number. But if we were to do something like take out day, you see it would obviously calculate the average for us. Let's put day back in, and let's change this to sum. Now there's a lot that you can do with pivot tables. There's also some tricks that you need to be a little bit careful of. So right now you can actually click on boxes and move them around. So if we want Michelle to the left, then Bob, then Kenny. If we right click here, we can select some of the options. There's a lot that you can do and a lot that you need to be careful of. That's something that we'll cover in pivot tables too, as we'll get a little bit more advanced. But right here, this view will allow us to graph this very easily, which we'll be talking about in the next lesson.